Hi, I'm Cole Gertis, and this video is going to teach you everything that you need to know about acting, or enough to be dangerous. Today, I'm joined by Tristen MacDonald. Put little air quotes around it, Gertis. This is my wife.
I'm the wife.
She is an incredible actress. She's been in TV, film, commercials, and most importantly for this episode today, for, I don't know, over a decade, she's also been a teacher of actors.
Yeah, that is correct.
And so today I'm very excited about it because the whole point of this podcast is to teach the very beginning stages of how to learn a skill. Mm-hmm. And what I think so interesting about acting is that it's a very hard one to get right. And also I think a lot of people quit before they actually get to a point where they even figure out what it is. The core of it is almost secondary to, you hear people say like, just memorize the lines.
Right. Or how do you memorize all those lines? How do you memorize all those lines?
Yeah. Oh, how do you get your hair to look good?
Right.
I
haven't figured that one out.
Like all of those secondary things take such precedent over like what the core of it is, over what like actually what you're supposed to be doing and practicing. And I also think it's interesting because it's one of those where I think a lot of people think it's easy.
It looks easy.
Yeah.
If you're doing it right.
When you're doing it right,
yeah.
you're just living.
Yeah.
When you're doing it right, you are being yourself. Mm-hmm. But being yourself is so hard.
Takes a lot of practice to figure out how to be yourself.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
Especially in a situation that you've never done. And so I'm excited to talk with you because I'm not great at it in a lot of senses.
That's not true.
Well, I think I'm good when I have a very specific experience and I can go back and I can be like, great, I know how to do this thing. But if you were to tell me like, okay, great, I have to be in a scene and the world is ending and there's a zombie running at me, I don't think that I would be able to go, I think I could put myself into this position.
I think you have had that audition before.
Yeah. I don't know if
we get a lot of takes.
Yeah. And so, I'm just intrigued. So I guess to start it off, in terms of like what you think is acting, like what do you think is like a core basis of what somebody should know? What are we going to cover today?
Okay, so this is like for people who maybe are just now thinking, I've kind of always wanted to be an actor. How do I go about doing that?
Yeah, or somebody who has been doing it and goes, something's not clicking here.
Right. How do I get good quicker?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, yes. First of all, let's just clear up what people might have clicked on this for, which is I want to be a film and TV actor. How do I get into that?
Yeah. This isn't like how the business works.
No, because I can't teach you the beginning parts of that unless you are willing to do it 100%.
There also doesn't seem to be a beginning of it. There just seems to be like
all of it.
You're in it.
Yeah. And if that is something that you want to learn about, then that is something that you have to be ready to do 1,000%. Because if you're going to do it 15, 20, 30, 40, 50%, literally don't even. Just don't even.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't be an astronaut just 25%.
Yeah. I'm just going to dip my toe into
full way. And that's the same for acting. I think that's a common misconception. Like, I'm going to go out to LA and I'm just going to like try it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I love those stories. I think those are some of my like most heartbreaking are the people who are like, I just really tried it and I was there for 6 months
I gave it
and
6
nothing
months
happened.
And I'm like,
it's like, ugh.
Yeah. So that can't be what we're talking today. We're talking about like how to get good at acting quickly.
Yes.
Okay, that I can help with.
Yeah. And so what are like some of the pillars, I guess? Because when I think about acting and I think about like what it does, what it's supposed to do, it's so grandiose, like, to feel every emotion under the sun, to be able to like be any person under the sun. And there's some of that too, where you'll talk to people and they'll say, I could be an 80-year-old grandma, throw some prosthetics on me.
Right.
I could do that.
Right. Yeah, they're not going to let you do that if you're a 30-year-old, unless you are already an A-list star. So we don't need to worry about that.
Great. Blown
unless
past
you're in
it.
the theatre.
Oh.
That's the fancy way to say theatre.
Oh, that's like Target.
Okay, but if you have just decided you want to be an actor and you just want to get good at it quickly, I've done some thinking. And what I would do if I were you is coming up for you right now. The first thing I think we need to talk about is what is acting for and what do actors do, right? And so when I was thinking about how to explain it, I came up with 3 things. The first thing acting is for and what actors do is to entertain, to help people escape their daily lives. Whether that be like they just worked a really long day and they want to come home and watch an episode of Friends and just laugh, or their life's just kind of like boring and they want to watch some like super cool action movie. So it's an escape from your everyday life. That's entertainment. It's also to help people experience windows into worlds that they would never have access to. So like when I watch Slumdog Millionaire, I've never been in that part of the world. I've never had, luckily, most of those experiences. I don't want to have them. But seeing somebody else go through it opens my worldview up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think what's really cool about that too is that it's both geographical and emotional on that front. Like to that front of just like, oh, what it would feel like to be there and to have all of that stuff done, but also just what do they live like? Like what is that world?
Well, yeah.
Geographically and like aesthetically.
And what would it be like to live on Mars? What's that movie?
The Martian?
The Martian. Okay. What would it be like to be a chemistry teacher turned drug lord? Like, I'm not going to do that. So the only access, the only access I have to those worlds are through acting, television, film, theater, theatra. So, and the third thing that actors do is they help people change. They change people. Now that might be opening up their minds to things they hadn't thought of before, or it just may be moving them from sadness to laughter, or from laughter to Twitter-pated, or like coming in, when we came out of Top Gun Maverick, you and I were like, we gotta go to the gym.
I mean, I'll say there isn't an action movie with Tom Cruise in it that I don't immediately do 50 push-ups. So maybe sometimes in the middle of it.
It changed you. So the movie moved you to change. So that's what actors do. So knowing that, now we can talk about how we do that. So the first thing I want to talk about, the first kind of pillar, you were asking about pillars.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would call this a pillar, but let's just go with it. The first pillar that anybody needs to know when they become an actor is that X equals X. What's she talking about? What does it mean? It means what you feel the audience feels, right? Okay. And that is based on, some of you may have heard of mirror neurons, the neurons in our brain that when I feel something, it makes somebody who's watching me feel it. Like when you stub your toe and somebody else goes, you know?
Yeah.
Or, you know, all of those things. Or when you see somebody laughing and it makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite examples of this is, do you remember the clip from Good Will Hunting where he's in the therapist's office and Robin Williams is telling the story about his wife farting in his sleep, and you'll notice that the frame is shaking, and that's because Matt Damon was laughing so hard that the camera operator who was watching Matt Damon laugh was laughing. So that's mirror neurons. The camera operator couldn't even hold the camera because he was experiencing somebody else genuinely laughing.
Yeah.
But if I were to be like, they wouldn't have that same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So what you're feeling, the audience feels. This goes for the emotions in your scene, but it also goes for just confidence, right? So sometimes when I'm coaching actors and they have to do something stupid, like let's say they have to, it says, he dances wildly, right? What does that mean? Like, I don't want to look like an idiot, right? What does dancing wildly mean? And my whole thing is, you just have to believe it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then they will believe it's awesome, right? So if you go dancing wildly and you go,
well, and to the opposite of that,
right?
If you're uncomfortable,
that's what I'm saying. If I'm uncomfortable,
then everybody else goes,
yes,
I'm uncomfortable watching this.
This is what I'm trying to say. So if you're uncomfortable, but if you just decide, okay, dancing wildly is, then people just go, okay, that's dancing wildly, right?
We're in it.
So X equals X. So that means that in your scenes, if you have a scene where you have to feel sadness, you have to actually feel sadness. You can't just show me sadness.
So I think to kind of like break it down a little bit too, it's the like core of whatever the scene is, whatever you are hoping to push through. Like, why are we watching this essentially? has to be believed by the actor. Like that is such a core basic of being an actor is you have to believe.
The most, yes, that is the most important
So like
thing.
the belief.
You have to be a child who really does believe the floor is lava. You have to believe it.
Yeah.
Because if you believe it, we'll all go, we'll believe it. So without you guiding us as the actor, there's nothing for us to experience.
Yeah.
Right? And what's really difficult, something that I skipped over, is a lot of the things that when we were talking about the acting as a window into worlds you'd never have experienced, even more important than that, I can't believe I missed this, is acting helps people feel emotions that they're not allowed to feel in real life. Because in real life, we're told, don't cry in the workplace.
Yeah.
We're told, like, don't lash out. Keep your anger inside. Don't let that person know you like them. Keep it cool, right? Acting is quite literally the very opposite. You have to be able to access the full spectrum of human emotions, and you need to be able to turn it on and off.
You know, it's so hard with that is, to your point, we've kind of been told for so long, and everybody growing, I don't know a lot of people who are just like, cry as much as you possibly want,
Right.
Yell as loud as you want, go into the streets and dance. Like that's
Right.
every once in a while, but it makes it special. Like it's such a unique moment. Like you
Yes.
can almost pinpoint those times where you're like, oh my gosh, I was the happiest I've ever been.
Because you find, yes, that's terrifying.
Because you got the moment. It was, everything was right. The people were right. The setting was right. The experience was right. And you got to like do the big thing that you never get to do. And so you have to be able to do that and like tap into whatever it is inside of you, like instantaneously as an actor. Like you have to have it in you.
Well, you
like
just
know
made
where
me
to
think
hit
of
it.
something. As you said that, you were like, "Oh, this moment where you were able to dance, and you were like, I did it. I got to do it. Everything was right. The timing was right." How sad is that?
Yeah.
How sad is that that experience came to you because you, for once, experienced real emotions without worrying who was watching. If you want more of that, come aboard the acting ship. You can do it all the time.
You get to be crazy people. Yeah, you get to do it.
Yeah.
But you have to buck society a little bit and be able to say, I'm going to do this thing, which is very hard because I'm sure you know a lot, but I know a lot of actors who do have problems being able to kind of come back into society normally, I feel like in a way where it's like, okay, great, I am going to tamp all this down. I am going to be like completely like emotionless so that I can go get a job as an accountant again.
I don't know. I don't know if I've had that experience.
Oh, really?
I think people can turn it back off to be appropriate in real life, fine.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing is to turn it on to do it as an actor. I think that, because like I can live amongst real people and not lash out at them.
It's questionable.
I shouldn't say that in front of my husband because,
Yeah.
but I can do that. But I think that particularly for men showing vulnerability, that is very hard for beginning actors, for men to show anything vulnerable. And it's very hard for women, I think, to show anything sexual, like flirty, or anger.
Oh, yeah.
So it's because society is like, don't do that. We don't want to see that.
Yeah.
So I think that the first thing you need to remember is we have to start feeling the full spectrum of human emotions. But how do you do it?
How? Tell us, Tristen.
That's my next pillar.
Oh.
That's my next pillar.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Well, you have to, I totally forgot to say that with acting, as I said earlier, actors teach people how to feel the full spectrum of human emotion, right? So if you need to learn as an actor how to feel the full spectrum of human emotion, what could you do?
Watch actors.
Go watch some actors.
Ah, yes.
Because they're going to teach you how to feel.
Oh, so I'm going to tell a story about, as she's my wife, so she knows it already.
I do.
But I had some struggles with showing emotions, and Parenthood, the TV show Parenthood, actually helped immensely break through something. I don't know what it was. I think it was because we started watching it right after our son was born. And to have something that I was so unsure about, and to watch everything. I mean, you're watching every emotion. You're watching the fullest highs of the highs, the lows of the lows, the fights, the love, everything coming at you all at once. And so to be able to see like that onslaught almost of parental emotions come through and be like, oh, this is so intense. But there was an opening, I think, because our son was born, to be able to say, let me feel all of this. Let me like kind of open it up. And so that show really helped me. And so now I can watch other stuff that I don't have as much relationship with because I've learned almost how to tap into that.
Yeah.
But that was almost like the gateway show.
Oh, it was absolutely a game changer. So let me tell my side. My side is that we would be doing auditions, like you'd be doing auditions, and I'd be like, I can't get you to break. I'm trying to get him to have these emotional moments. And I was like, I don't know how to make you step into this character's shoes. I don't know. And I was like, we need to build empathy was I think the word we used. Anyway, totally unrelated. We started watching Parenthood. And about like, I don't know, second season or something, I look over and Cole is choked up. And I have never at this point seen him get choked up ever. You were choked up. And, I was like,
after like 4 years of marriage.
yeah, it's happening. And then I started to notice in his auditions, he was being softer. You were having more moments of vulnerability. I'm like, oh my gosh, Parenthood taught you how to feel.
Yeah. And well, I will say too, that show did such a good job of teaching you who the characters were. And so you got emotionally invested I don't know if quickly is the right word, but you did get emotionally invested. They did a really great job of that. And so finding shows, finding things, because I think that's one hard thing is you can say, okay, go watch other actors and go do stuff. But if you're watching something and you're trying it for the first time, you're trying to figure out how to do this, and you go dive into something that you have no relationship with, The Martian. You go back into that and you're like, okay, great, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to figure out how to feel these emotions. And then you go, I have no relationship to this. Like, it might work.
Yeah.
It might if you're already kind of there and you kind of know how to do it. But I think having something that's so close that you can like really tap into in real life and be like, okay, great, this really unlocks something is really important.
Well, I wouldn't put the pressure on anybody to find that though. I would say just start watching shows and watch character-driven shows. Because like Orphan Black is very emotional. Watch it, deal with it.
Just do it.
And it doesn't even have to be about sadness. It could be, Succession, lots of jealousy, lots of anger, lots of stuffing things down, throwing things in people's face. Like, so just watching TV, I'm trying to think of another like angry one. Oh my gosh. I mean, Ross on Friends when he loses his mind. So just start watching actors and start filling your emotional well would be what I would say.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's really, I don't know, the starting point of trying to be an actor, again, with read the lines, hit your mark, stuff like that, is something that obviously you need to be able to do. You need to be able to do, but you can practice those things kind of methodically. You can practice how to memorize better. You can read books on it. You can practice how to stand in one spot by doing it. But by building that emotional well, it's something that you can do kind of in your own time. You can do as fast as you like kind of can or want to, and like sit and really feel it. And you said something the other day that I thought was really interesting, is that you now know that when you get sad, it like, I think it was like here, like it hits you here, and like you know how to like send your energy here now. And so I'd say too, as you're watching it and as you're trying to like figure out how to replicate it, notice where it's hitting you.
Yes.
I'll say like there's sometimes where like the anger shows and stuff like that. I know when I get angry, it's in my forearms.
That's good.
I get mad in my forearms. And so like that's where I start to feel it.
That's good.
So I start there when I have like an angry scene.
This is a hot tip. So when you're watching shows and they're having an emotional reaction and your mirror neurons are firing and you're feeling something. Try to locate where in your body you're feeling it. Like I feel sadness in my chest, but I also, just while you were talking and you said that, I feel it kind of in that palate from the back of my throat to my nose.
Oh, like your sinuses?
Yeah, like I don't know if it's sinuses, but whatever that area is, because just now when you said it, I thought of a sad scene and I instantly feel like this pressure right here.
What if you started crying on the podcast?
I almost did just now when you were talking. Oh, wow. But then I was like, stay present. Listen to what he's talking about.
Shoot.
His forearms. but I can almost, I wouldn't say I can just turn on the waterworks all the time. What I'm saying is when I have to go sad, I can start putting my attention there and my eyes start to water. But it's not like a party trick. I'm actually feeling the feeling that I feel when I'm sad.
And I think that's the core of all of this, is that it's to the discernible person, you can tell when it's a party trick, when it's put on, and when it's just going, yeah, I did the thing and I made myself cry, or I made myself yell because I felt it in my forearm and I got mad, instead of like really feeling it and like actually going there. So taking that like initial beginning feeling, pushing it, and then being able to say, okay, great, that emotion towards whatever the scene is, that is what you're talking about. It's not just like putting on an airs and then saying the words. So like, I feel a little bit sad and now I'm going to say these lines. It's really like saying it through the lens of what that scene is.
And it's okay to be nice to yourself in the beginning, because you aren't going to be able to do it at first. But just know that the goal that you're going toward is that you actually feel the emotion, because the audience can tell. You can tell right now watching this video if I go, my life's just been so hard and I've gone through a lot. You're not feeling anything. I'm not doing anything. But if I start talking about things that I actually have been through, and I start to think about, then you start to have a little bit more. I mean, I was still, kind of BS in there.
It was fast.
But I'm just saying, I'm doing it quick.
Yeah.
But you can start to tell, you feel a little more.
Yeah.
So just know that your goal is to get to the point where you're actually feeling it, not showing me that you're feeling it. But be nice to yourself at the beginning. Okay? So this brings me to my pillar number 3.
Oh.
And that is, once you've found these shows that you like or movies that you like, just copy them. The internet's going to come for me. Your comment section is going to come for me. They're going to say, wow, I thought she knew what she was talking about. I can't wait to have a comment
section. It's going to be great.
Right? I thought she knew what she was talking about until she started with this BS. Just hold on a second, okay? What if I were starting out again and I was just trying to figure this out? What I would do is I would watch performances from, maybe don't pick Sophie's Choice. Pick something a little simpler. Like go pick a popular show and take a scene that you like. Like, I almost spoiled something.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, never mind. Pick a scene from a show you like and learn all of the words and copy it word for word, and copy it pause for pause and motion for motion and look for look. Copy it exactly. This is not because now you're going to go in your audition and do that thing that George Costanza did. What was that reference?
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's not that you're going to do that in your auditions. You're just training your ear to the music, to the musicality of acting, to like, oh, there was a big pause there. Why? What wasn't being said when there weren't any lines? You'll start to notice those things. So one thing that I think helped me get really, really good at comedy is when I was a kid, I would memorize whole episodes of Family Matters.
Oh. Yep.
Because I loved Steve Urkel. So I knew.
Might have to end with the Urkel dance. Just.
Oh God, no.
Just at the tail end. Maybe.
But I, I'm wearing you down, baby. I'm wearing you down. I memorized how long that pause was.
Yeah.
And so I felt like as I got older and I would do different scripts, I would know to say something and then say it again. And nobody's like, oh, she's doing Steve Urkel. That was 4,900 years ago. But the point is to watch shows and copy it word for word and just trust that the music will start to get into your body.
Yeah.
And then down the road, when you have auditions for a particular scene, you can be like, oh, this is like that scene from Good Will Hunting. Okay, I kind of know. I sort of know what kind of pauses could be here, or what kind of emotional roller coaster I can take the audience on.
Well, and I think copying things word for word sometimes gets a bad rap, but when you actually go in and you look at some of the best actors, what I always think of is musicians. Whenever you like read biographies of musicians, they always started doing covers.
Right. Yes, that's a perfect example. Yes.
They started doing Elvis.
Yes.
and then
painters did artist studies. They were apprentices.
Yes.
You're good. That's exactly right.
And then they figure it out and they go, okay, great. I figured out why this Elvis piece works. I figured out why this Beatles piece works, why the Rolling Stones piece works. And then they go, okay, great. Now let me put my own spin on it. Let me make my own music.
Yes.
But they kept some of it. They kept, whether it's the rhythm or the instrumentation or, the vocal tonality. Like, they took some of it, but then they made it completely and totally different, because that is just like a microcosm. And so the timing you kept. The timing isn't his.
Right.
Like, the timing is just good comedic timing.
Right.
And so to be able to take that and be able to say, okay, great, I've taken this comedic timing. Now I'm a female who's this, who's that, who's doing this scene, who's saying these lines, who's moving in this way. It's 100% different. You just took a little piece of it.
Yes. You got it.
So
you nailed it.
Yeah. I like that, because I think there's this weird thing about like, oh, I don't want to steal. And like, you hear like the stand-up thing of like, they stole my joke or something,
Right.
And it's like, well, yeah, don't go and steal somebody's exact script and go like make a movie out of it.
But we're not in danger of that here, guys.
Yeah.
It's not, no.
We're not. If we are, don't do it. Just don't do that. But if you're not, then steal freely.
So where were we? We've talked about acting is to change people and move them from one emotion to the next, and to teach people how to feel and to help them escape their lives and give them a window into other worlds. Great. We learned that X equals X. So in order to make somebody feel something, you have to feel something. We learned that you can learn how to feel from watching other actors, and that you can literally get better at acting by watching the masters do it and stealing. And I'm not joking about that. It is such a good way for you to get good fast. I would venture to say, I'm going to say something crazy. I would say if you did only that for 6 months, you would be so far ahead of what you would have learned in a once-a-week acting class for $400 a month in the period of like a year or 2 years. I'm serious. So this is like a free way. I don't know how many people are going to do it, but you should take my advice, because it's way cheaper than going to acting class and only working on one thing and not totally understanding why you're not getting better.
So I want to stop, because you touched on something and we didn't talk about acting classes. Obviously, there is so much information you can get from an acting class. There is an infinite amount. Most people go to acting classes. That is what they do. And I think we kind of jumped past it, which is okay, because if you're in a class, that's great. But I think one of the things I always had trouble with is you go to the class, you do the thing, and it teaches you their thing over and over and over again. And you like really get honed in on it, which is fantastic. But at the same time, it gives you this almost like consistent feedback loop that is not autonomous. And I think that was always one of my biggest problems with acting classes and with acting in general, is like this kind of hard and fast that I have to spend $500 a week from this one person in order to be good at this.
$500 a week. Where are you going to class?
Yeah. Well, a month.
You should quit that class.
$500 a month. Regardless, very expensive, even at $500 a month. And there is a lot, and there is obviously value in that. But I also, there's so much that you can do on your own if you just kind of go out and really want to learn how to do this. And so I love all of these things that you've been mentioning, because it's not exclusive of the class. Still take the classes. It's inclusive of it. Add that class in so that you can get the feedback from professionals, so that you can learn from other people what they're doing because the community is such a big part of this. But this is stuff that you can do on your own, which I think sometimes gets washed away, and people just go, go join a class.
Well, yeah, I think people don't know what to do on their own, which is what I'm helping with today. But also, I think it was, I'm not sure if I'm misquoting this, but I think it was Robert De Niro who said, you're paying for acting class, you're paying to watch people. Robert De Niro said, you're paying for people to watch you act. So if you think of it like that, yes. And of course, you're going to learn something in class, of course. But my point is, it's only once a week, unless you're wealthy and you can afford several. I've never been able to afford several classes a week. So I just feel like it's the slower option. If you're really trying to like fast forward your learning, do the things I'm saying, and then add in an acting class. And also, I'm assuming that most of the people watching it on your channel aren't living in LA. So you might not have access to an acting class, or you may have to drive really far to get one. So I'm just saying there are online classes now, thank goodness, but there are also ways that you can get really good on your own. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, I love that. Because the feedback is sometimes very hard to get consistently. Even if you are in a class, you maybe get 5 minutes of feedback on your acting. And so you do all of this stuff, you rehearse, you do this, and then they focused on how you like tripped coming into the scene or something, and then your whole week is you're like, what?
Well, yeah.
There was a nail sticking up and I tripped, and cool, that was my no.
How often has that happened to you?
It's more often than you'd think.
Tripping on a nail coming into your scene?
I am not the most graceful of actors.
Wow.
But this is stuff that you can do, and you know, when you're talking about like trying to figure out where it is putting yourself on tape too. And being able to tape yourself and watch it so that you can get that feedback loop internally. Because I don't know about everybody listening, but I know when I've watched even myself and I feel and I see that I am getting somewhere in the tape, I know I was really there, and I know when I wasn't. And so to be able to even just watch that and go, I was kind of faking it there. Is such a good thing.
Well, it's really good to watch yourself. It's really hard to watch yourself. So if you watch yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't. Same. Every time we do an audition, you're like, do you want to watch it back? I'm like, absolutely not, which is so dumb, because I'm going to send it to casting and they're going to watch it. So I should probably watch it and make sure it's good. Yeah. Every time you ask, I'm like, no, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
So it's totally normal to not want to watch yourself. But you led me so very perfectly into my fourth thing, which is, once you have, let's say you're working on a scene from Friends and you've memorized everything that Ross has done. You ate my sandwich, once you've got it perfect, tape yourself, watch it back, okay? If you don't love it, I've got one more hot tip for you.
Okay.
Oftentimes, the final step of an actor like crossing into good territory, and this is the hardest one. Yeah. I'm telling you about it because nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about this. Is taking the attention off yourself and onto the other character. So if you do the scene from Friends and you watch Ross do it and you do watch yours and you're like, okay, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But it's not as funny as his, and I can't quite figure out why it's not as funny. Almost always, it's because your attention is watching yourself. My sandwich. There's like a twinkle in your eye. Yeah. Where you're like, I'm doing it.
I'm doing the thing. I'm going to do it.
My sandwich. And the audience can tell. They don't know what you're doing, but they're like, something is not right. They can't figure it out. But Ross is not watching himself. Ross is going, it's off of himself. He's talking to the other guy. You ate my sandwich? My sandwich. I mean, the energy is going toward the other person. And so I think a lot of times when I watch somebody who is funny in an acting class, I'm like, okay, this person is funny. So why are they not getting the laughs? I can't. And I'm like, they're like, their energy is right here going, nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Got another.
And we, because X equals X, we can feel that. We can feel they're not in it. They're not in it. Now, you're asking me, how do I fix that? I don't know. It just takes practice. It just takes practice of reminding yourself that your scene is always about the other person, right? Instead of feeling sorry for yourself and, my life is so hard. Try to get the other person, try to change the other person, because acting is about helping people change.
Oh, so do it in the scene.
Do it in
Oh,
the
my
scene.
goodness.
Try to get you to realize my life has been really hard and I've gone through a lot of stuff. I'm trying to make you realize that instead of trying to get everybody to watch me, experience it. And I feel like if actors can master remembering that the attention is on the other person, that's when it really takes off.
Well, and so on that front, there's the mirror neurons that you spoke about, where people will kind of come over to you when you actually feel it. And I think what's interesting is if you're in a scene or if you're like rehearsing with somebody or something and you're doing something and they're not doing what you want them to do, you're not getting them to feel sad for you or to feel grateful that you gave them a gift or to want to stay with you or whatever it is that you want. And you can see that they're not doing it. It's because you're not pushing that emotion enough towards it. You're not giving them what you want them to do. You're not telling them enough. And I think there's something very powerful in that. And like even kind of in your actual life, like take it out of acting. It's like if you really want your estranged mother to come and actually be back in your life or something, you have to want it. You have to show them.
Do something about it.
And you have to, yes.
You can't wait for it to happen. You have to send a message. You have to use a tactic. That's what acting is. Like, if you're not giving me what I want, I have to do something different.
Yeah.
If you're not looking at me, I got to get in your way. I have to make you look at me. I have to whip you around. I have to do something to make you do what I want you to do.
Yeah. And so I think that's very important. And that's something you can practice all the time.
Yeah.
Like see if you can, not to manipulate people, but to kind of see if you can get people to do something that you want them to do. And if so, you're kind of doing it. You're doing the thing.
Yeah.
Just bring that into acting.
Yeah.
Well, Tristen, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this conversation.
Well, thanks.
This is basically like how to get you to that first, 50, 60% of acting. This, if you do these 4 pillars and you were to take them and really practice and hone them, obviously add in acting classes, add in getting the agent for the professional side, all of that stuff taken out of it. If you just did this, you would have such a core basic fundamental that you could walk into an acting class and go, I know what I'm doing here. I know how to get there. Now help me hone this. Help me get this into a place where I can get what I want out of this. Whether that is booking a TV show or booking, a commercial, which, by the way, has nothing to do with you. It has to do with other people, and you might be perfect for something else. So if you're not booking something, don't feel like you're awful.
Yeah.
That totally different than what we're talking about. Tristen, thank you so much for walking us through that. I think that there are so many tools here that will get people to that like 50, 60% of this skill to be able to go, okay, great. I have a really good baseline here just by following those 4 pillars and being able to really look inside themselves and be able to go, okay, great. I know how to access so much more. But for those people who are looking to maybe move a little bit faster, for those people who want a support system while they're trying to do some of these things, you have some courses, right?
I do, on my website, happyactors.com. So at the beginning of the video, I was saying that there is no going in, like tiptoeing into being a film and television actor. If that's something you're interested in, it's all or nothing. But if you are willing to be all or nothing, then I've got a course called Actor Business Plan, and it is, honest to goodness, every possible thing I could possibly think about to help you get there faster. Now, you can't control the business, there are too many variables. I can't guarantee that you'll be successful. Nobody can. But I promise you that I left no stone unturned in this course to help you get to where you're trying to go as fast as possible and literally save you years. Okay. Yeah. That's After Business Plan. The second course that I have is called Scene Study. And that's more of what we've been talking about today. So in that class, what I do is there's like 14 scenes from television and film. I give you the script. You're invited to, but not required to do the scene and tape yourself. You don't have to, but you're welcome to. Then in the next part of the course, I show you the actual scene as it aired and walk you through what worked and why it worked and what technique the actor was using to get that emotional moment or to get that laugh. So I think it's super helpful. I wish this course was taught to me years and years ago, and I would love for you to try out scene study if that sounds like something you'd like.
Oh, that sounds amazing. You know, there are so many people who come to Los Angeles, like we said, spend 6 months, spend a year, spend 2 years, and then they go, it's not for me. I'm not going to do it. And you ask them, how far did you get? What happened? And they didn't get headshots. They didn't get a reel. They went to one acting class and, you know, learned the same note over and over again and didn't find a community, whatever it was. And it's very disheartening because it is something that's very fun if you can get into it, that you can actually like learn how to tap into some of these things that you've been talking about today. And so I would suggest everybody go check out those classes if you're interested in progressing your career or just hobby, your skill in learning how to be an actor.
Do it, do it, do it.
Tristen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Bye, baby.